Welcome back to UnCeiling You, the podcast where we explore what it means to rise on your own terms by breaking through the expectations that limit us. In our last episode, we sat down with a professional poker player who reminded us that you are your best bet. And today, we're meeting someone who did just that, quietly at first, then boldly. Trsic grew up in Romania, where success had a script. Earn your master's, climb the corporate ladder, and stay the course. And for over a decade, she did just that. But when the pandemic disrupted her work and her sense of joy, Anna took a risk. What started as candle making to soothe her soul turned into a thriving business and a personal revolution. In this episode, Anna shares how she broke free from cultural expectations, overcame the guilt of walking away from a good job, and built something that reflects who she really is. Her story is a powerful reminder. When you give yourself permission to choose joy, you stop waiting for validation and start becoming your own best bet. Let's get into it.
Hey, Anna, many of us are told that success what it looks like is climbing the corporate ladder. Well, first earning your degree, then climbing the corporate ladder, securing that steady paycheck. But what happens when you get to the top and you realize it's not bringing you happiness? So today, I'm so happy, Anna, to have you on and talk with you because you took a bold leap from corporate leadership into entrepreneurship. I'm so proud of you. And you chose joy. So I was wondering, what were the first signs that your corporate career wasn't fulfilling you? Was there a specific moment or realization that you had to push to explore something different?
Part of being a program director at my last corporate job of a whole decade, I absolutely loved the job itself. I enjoyed the everyday decision making. I enjoyed the fun it brought me, and especially the connecting and the building relationships with our clients and people. I think that towards the beginning of the pandemic, as many other people went through a lot of different changes in their mindsets and in their comfort, that's kind of what pushed me to the edge of thinking, okay, I can do things differently. Part of loving my job and having a stable, happy decision-making job was everything that came with it. But obviously the pandemic made so many corporations change the way that they did business. And in my case, it was the same thing. We had to change our operations to make sure that everybody was still able to keep their job. The company was, of course, making still money to continue, but some things in operations had to change that I didn't necessarily line up with.
Okay, so I don't know if you're able to talk about some of those things, but how did those changes impact you that made you realize it wasn't what you wanted?
So part of our job, it was really cool because we got to travel a lot. So for 11 years straight, I got to travel to all different places across the country and build relations with really cool companies and people working at these places. We wanted to create an atmosphere and a community of people connecting so they can improve their relations with their employers. But the pandemic, obviously travel stopped. So what was the best part about my job, traveling and meeting new people, all of that had to stop. So instead, we had to focus on improving our operations and creating an atmosphere that was all online. So that was very hard to do. It's very hard to connect with people emotionally online, to present what you're talking about, what products you're selling. It's not the same. So the online world, that was the biggest push of change of operations for our company. That was very hard for me. I missed the people. As a social person, I was having a hard time. And the hardest part about that is obviously changing in operations is hard to go back to what it was. So having a new company, basically a new mission for the company to continue, but everything virtual or online, I missed the people. I missed going out and traveling. I missed going out to talk about the mission of the company, which is why I started doing all sorts of puzzles in the pandemic. I started doing all sorts of new hobbies. And then, of course, I got into candle making.
Wow. So at some point, though, after the pandemic, you were still with the company. The mission had changed. How did how did you get to the point where you're feeling like, hey, maybe I can do my candle making business, and maybe talk a little bit about your candles and what excited you about them? How did you go from, maybe I don't have to do this to I can do this other thing?
Absolutely. So growing up in Romania, coming from a different country here, you're instilled in, you're going to school, you're going to get your master's degree. There's no bachelor's. You got to get your master's and then climb the corporate ladder. So I didn't know there was other options around. In getting my corporate job as a program director, managing a handful of people, and of course, being a decision maker, everything got put on a boiler. So once the pandemic hit and the fun was basically taken away and you had to manage new skills to do more work than ever, I realized if I'm not having fun, there has to be different ways to continue. One thing that I've noticed when I started making candles, and I literally just bought a candle making kit. I had no idea anything about candles. I didn't know that there's toxic candles out there. I didn't know how to burn a candle correctly. There's rules and there's all these important information to candles, the size of the wick. I knew nothing. So once I made it, it was just so much fun and it brought up sparked joy to continue to learn this new thing. And I never thought I'd have a business out of it. I just wanted to come down and pour a candle and be like, okay, this was super therapeutic. It just took me away from the busyness of everyday life. And I just enjoyed making the candle. It was a very, very therapeutic process. So one day I'm like, what if I tried selling it? Because my parents and my family, they're all said, oh, these smell great. Let me try them out. So I booked a farmer's market one day, knowing nothing about talking about selling, about nothing about candle sales. So I went to the farmer's market and they were really cool. Everybody enjoyed them. I heard feedback on my work, which is something super interesting because in a corporate setting, you have a team of people, you have a boss, you have two bosses. You'll always know how you're doing and somebody's always telling you, what to modify to do a better job. Being an entrepreneur is very lonely at the top. There's no one to tell you you're doing good or you're doing bad. You have nobody to bounce ideas off. So you take that and you run with it and you hope it works out. And in my case, I rely a lot on my customers who obviously leave feedback and all the important stuff. So they like the packaging, I'll continue to do the packaging. So anything like that. But to your point with being in a corporate and stepping out of that, something that was super interesting in hindsight is at a corporate level, you get a standard salary and that's, your income. And then sometimes you have a lot of work to do. In entrepreneurship, it's a little different because I feel like the more you put in, the more opportunity there is. I wasn't familiar with this process, the way of thinking about how much you put into it, it can come double back. That was something I learned and it was very interesting to see. Of course, it goes back the other way too. If you have a whole week where you don't want to make any candles or not sell them, you're not making that stable income as well.
Oh, that's funny. So as you were making this decision to go full time with your candles, I'm sure you felt maybe, I don't know, you tell me if you felt guilty about going down this path or how did you feel in making that decision to do this?
So I actually used social media to help. Once I started a candle making business, it started being successful. I started doing markets. I touched onto selling online. And one of my biggest success factors was TikTok. I added my car diffusers. There are awesome car diffusers. They go in your car. I'll show you some. You can place them in your car. I added videos on TikTok Shop and it completely went viral. So I want to say that in the fall of 2023, my car diffusers and all my videos went viral on TikTok. It got over 1 million views and it added to hundreds and hundreds of sales. I wasn't ready for that. I was working my 9 to 5 and then you had to ship out orders within 24 hours. Otherwise, you had all sorts of violations if you're not going to complete that. So it was a crazy time. I was working and then after work, my whole family would come out and help me ship orders, get everything out to everybody. So that was the first taste of, oh my God, I can do this. I can actually do this without any other noise in the background. The end of the year in 2023, I stuck with that. So I realized, you put in hard work, you can rely on the community, you can rely on social media to get your name out, to talk about your product, to talk about your story. And you don't need to do it for somebody else's dream. You can do it for yourself. Yes, the guilt was insane. It probably took me 4 to 5 months to come to my conclusion. It was an idea in my head that was kind of crazy. Like I said, as an immigrant, you go to school, you get the corporate job. You don't quit to pour candles. That doesn't happen. So for me, it was a very guilty decision, not only because I thought I was going to disappoint my family. I was going to disappoint the system I was brought in, but I think I was an important piece of my corporate job, especially with having a team. So I felt extremely guilty for leaving it and taking a step back, especially for my team who relied on me and my mentorship for them to continue. There was all the discussions and questions in my head. Let's say I quit this. 1, my stable income goes away. What am I going to do? 2, is TikTok going to be around? TikTok is in crazy deep waters today. So one of the things is when I realized I was going to make this decision, you cannot rely on just one source of income when it comes to a small business. Otherwise, you're just stuck on that. So you have to vary and push into different ways of talking about your product or showing it to the consumers. And it's not just through TikTok because TikTok was successful. So once I made the decision to leave the corporate world behind, I said, okay, this is very scary. This is crazy, but I have to do it. What am I going to do? I don't want to go back to a 9 to 5. So it was really nice because once I did that full time, I think once you change your mindset and know that anything is possible, things can be possible. Once you change your energy, things will attract towards you. So one of the things that happened right off the bat is actually my TikTok views did go down. And as worried as I was, my wholesale accounts actually got brought up, which was really nice to see my products in different stores across the country.
Wow, that's amazing. So you talked about your family a little bit, the coming from Romania, the expectations that they had for you. And that was a major source of your career choices to begin with. After all, your family moved to the US for better opportunities, like many immigrant families. So what kind of challenges did you face in thinking about those expectations? Like, what did your family say to you, and how did you react, and what's happened since you made this decision?
I think I would speak for a lot of immigrants when I say that there's a lot of pressure on immigrant children, especially the ones that move to the US or a different country, to be the best they can be. You get to go to school, you come back with A's, you come back with 100% on your papers. If you come back with a B, that's when the questioning starts. When you get when you're a straight A student, it's like, okay, you're doing great. Nobody tells you, hey, good job. You come home with a B, it's like, what the heck happened? Now it's a conversation. So you're never going to lower the expectation. You have to be amazing at all times. So of course, as you know, we both play tennis. One of our hobbies in life is to play tennis. And I remember when I was 11 years old, my parents put me in tennis lessons. And I think their dream was for me to become the next Serena Williams. Well, not all children will achieve goals like that. You can still play tennis and just have fun.
Yeah.
But when it came to the corporate world, I think it was the same situation where your family's expecting you to climb the corporate ladder, to be this amazing person and to just have that status. But nobody asks you if you're happy. Nobody asks you those questions. So when I remember I went for a walk in the pandemic, I walked my dogs and I called my parents and I'm like, I think I'm going to make candles. I think I'm going to quit my job. And I knew it was a tough conversation. But when they said, you're nuts, like, what are you doing? No, you're not. You're not going to do that. I said, yes, I am. And it's very hard because I love my family, but sometimes you have to turn down the volume when they say you can't do this or what are people going to say? That's the biggest thing is when it comes to an immigrant family, when you are different than the societal norm, it's the same thing. In their heads, everybody's like, what are people going to say? Who cares? Who cares what people are going to say? So when I started making candles, I remember I asked my parents to come out and help me, and they would love to come to the farmers markets and have fun. And they talked to people and they presented my candles. And that was kind of cool to see. But then there's always the comments, right? So for example, my dad would make a comment like, my daughter who got a master's degree, she's sitting in a farmer's market. No, you're saying that wrong. Your daughter who got a master's degree is a very successful entrepreneur. It doesn't matter that I'm in a farmer's market. It doesn't matter that I'm selling online. I think that it's a mindset change, and it's very hard for, I feel like, open-minded immigrant kids to change the way that their parents are viewing the world. So even though it was hard, I think it's cool because it also pushes me to show them that they're wrong. And it's happened. So it's really nice. And the coolest part about it is now they're very supportive because they got to see, you put in the hard work, you can be successful. It doesn't just have to be behind a computer.
I love that story because I think that even if you're not an immigrant kid, for me, my parents wanted me to go to med school. That was it. And that was my destiny, but I decided to do something different. And it was a hard conversation to have. And now, like well, tell us, how do your parents see you now?
Oh my gosh, they love it. They're very supportive. So as a candle maker, obviously I rely on the community and I do a lot of pop-up markets. I was just part of the Detroit Winter Market downtown that was organized by Techtown, Bedrock, and the Gilbert Foundation. It is an incredible community organized event that is 2 months, but it is a lot of work as a vendor. So I had to rely a lot on my helpers on my team and especially my family who loved to come out. So it's kind of really cool to see from somebody who doesn't fully want, they want what's best for their children. I know that. So it's hard to see from the beginning, like, what are you doing to when's your next market? I want to come. Or do you have any new scents? It's like, yeah, if you want to follow my journey, of course, I can show you. I can talk to you about all of it. It's just really cool to unlearn things that the older generations have learned to change the viewpoint on how things are done today.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful. And so like the one story I tell about my mom went to medical school. She actually applied and was admitted when she was 31 years old. And this was in the late 70s, early 80s. Yes. And at that time, only 5% of the students were female and none of them were 31 years old going into med school.
Yep.
I was 16 and my grandmother told my mother that she was crazy for going to med school and that didn't she know as she gets older, she's getting dumber because her brain cells are dying. And, and it's funny because we have a picture of my mom and my grandmother and us at my mom's graduation for med school. And my grandma's like, and to me, and I was like, you guys, it doesn't look like it, but that's my grandmother's smile. She was very proud. Anyway, she looked like she was frowning, but it was really your smile.
And if you know the story, I'm sure that's what you're thinking in your head, but others probably don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So you talk a lot about a mindset shift that you had to have for yourself and that you had to help your family to have in order to really embrace this goal of yours. Can you maybe dig a little deeper in how your mindset around money evolved as you transitioned from the corporate world to running your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're in a job, no matter what your job is for however long before your next raise or promotion, you're getting a standard salary that you're relying on to live your life. Sometimes you put in a lot of time and a lot of work for that same salary, no matter what. And that was one thing that I noticed. It was, I always wanted to be the best at my job. I always put in 110%. No matter what my work was, I wanted to be really good at it because no matter what you're doing in your life, your project and your work, that's your name. Your signature is at the bottom of it. So whatever you're doing, you should always give it your best until you want to leave and then change it up and whatever, but you still give it your shot. With the salary, like I said, it just comes with, here's a stable salary and then do all these hundreds of projects. Once you leave that, you're putting in work to create your own salary again. But the change in your operations, the change in your everyday tasks change. So what's cool is, you make a candle and you talk about your candle. Santana Candle Co. is inspired by nature. I love to hike. I love to travel. So I want to pour all my love for the outdoors into candles. All of our candles are non-toxic. They're made out of soy wax with no phthalates, no carcinogens. Everything is clean. So you're burning a clean candle. And it's really nice because you don't have to worry about the headaches. You don't have to worry about anything harming your pets, your walls, or yourself. So when I talk about something like my products, I want that to generate, of course, somebody to buy it, somebody to enjoy it, somebody to love it. And I want to create a community. But what's really cool is when you're creating different ways of bringing back clients to your products, especially in today's market, right? Anybody can buy a candle. I think the candle market is extremely saturated. So it's very hard to be an entrepreneur in a business that's saturated. But as an entrepreneur, you'll have to figure out different ways for customers to come back and still love your product and still love your scent and find a sustainable way to do it. So once you get to talking to people, you realize you can generate whatever salary you're doing that first 6 months, that first year. And then, of course, you get the sweet spots. You'll get the markets. You'll get the TikTok. You'll get, if you're really awesome at social media, you'll just blow up all the time instead of just a couple of months. But I think that it generates a conversation you'll have to have within yourself is like, okay, how can I improve my business? How can I create a better product for the community? I want people to love it because yes, my salary can grow exponentially, but I have to have something that is 100% a great product for somebody to enjoy. I don't want to just make something and be like, okay, everybody just buy it. I want you to love it. I want you to love this product the way I do. I want you to have the same passion for it. Maybe not as much, but So I think it's really cool with being an entrepreneur. As soon as you get rid of your excuses for not being able to grow, because that's a hard one. I remember when I got into the Detroit winter market and I had to make so much product and we had conversations with all the other vendors and everyone said, you'll need help. And I'm like, nah, I won't. I learned the hard way. That first week, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of time that the market is open. You have to hire help. You can't do it by yourself. And regardless what you're doing, you need the help to grow. You need to find different ways to grow your business as opposed to just, okay, I'm going to this market every Thursday and that's just what I'm going to do. There's always a cap unless you grow it. And of course, that means more help, more mentorship, more support from the community. You want to hear what they have to say in order for you to grow. And when you're growing, yes, you're getting to a bigger salary, a bigger revenue stream, which is very different than what I grew up with, right? So you're coming and here's your job, here's your money. No matter what you're doing, no matter how much you're helping grow this organization that's not yours, this is always going to be your income. On this other side is, okay, you have free range, go crazy, grow it. But as much as you put in all that work and time and the money grows, you have to constantly do that. Otherwise, you're also going to be plateauing. So it's really nice, I think, as an entrepreneur that there's no limit. There's no cap to what you can do.
That's so exciting. And I love to hear you talk about the mission of your candles, what it's all about. I'm just curious to know, how are they the same and how are they different than the candles?
Of course. So my car diffusers are the viral thing. They're basically a mini reed diffuser. And what you do with them is you tie them around the mirror of your car or any of a small space that you're wanting some fragrance in. And the cap, because it's wood, what happens is you tip it upside down for a couple seconds. The oil is going to saturate into the cap. And when it gets wet, it releases the scent. So it smells really nice. And we have over 11 different scents, of course, all nature inspired. Our best selling ones are coffee. People love the coffee. And of course, the musky ones or black sea candle scent or diffuser scent is very, very popular. The black sea candle resonates with me because we have the Black Sea in Romania. That's where I grew up. And the scent itself is very clean, very musky. It's a nice sandalwood. So people really like that scent. But the car diffuser, I think with an entrepreneur mindset, when you're releasing out different products, you have to understand that not everybody can afford one specific thing. So say a non-toxic soy organic candle is valued at a lot higher as opposed to like something you can get at the dollar store, for example. When it comes to different products that you offer, you want to generate different price points. So you want to generate different options for the public because somebody can't afford a $25 or $50 candle, but they can all try out an $11 car diffuser, for example. And once they love it, hopefully they can try out different products that you offer.
There you go. Now, earlier you said that you love nature, you love going on adventure. What are some of the places that you visited over the last 12 months as a result of everything that you've been doing?
Yes, of course. So my husband and I, we have 2 little chihuahuas and every single year we visit at least one national park. We love hiking. We love the outdoors. Our little chihuahuas are getting older. So we also got a little backpack for them because they can't keep up on the hikes. But the nature outdoor parks are beautiful. I highly recommend you do it. It's very nice. It's a very beautiful way to just unplug. We also love to do big trips. And Natalie, you and I play tennis. We love tennis. One of our goals in life is to visit all of the Grand Slams. If you're not a tennis fan, that's the really big tournaments like the US Open and the French Open and the Australian Open. So we did all of those. We recently just went to Australia with the purpose of attending the Australian Open in tennis. And of course, you can't just go for that. So we made a big 3-week vacation out of it, which was absolutely beautiful. If you ever have a chance to go to that side of the world, go.
So what was your favorite trip? But more importantly, what did you learn about yourself in taking these trips?
I think it's really cool when you're traveling within the country and outside of the country. I love to talk to the locals. I love to see how people live, how they think, how their experiences are compared to somebody in the US. And I think part of traveling by itself is you learn so much about the world. And there's a lot we don't know, right? Like there's so much we don't know until you go in a different country and you just explore that. And one of the things I don't like about traveling, for example, when we went to Paris, you see the Eiffel Tower and everybody has, pizza and burgers for all the tourists. I don't want that. Put me in France, but put me in like a local street that nobody knows about. That's my favorite part about traveling. And I remember we went to Italy, which was probably one of my favorite trips. I even created a whole entire candle line so I can candle my memories from this trip.
I love that.
And it was so nice because we went to Italy to see, obviously the country. We wanted to see the coastal line. We wanted to see the vineyards. It was just beautiful. It was very beautiful, especially with the nature and the trees. They have these amazing trees around Lake Como and they smelled incredible. So I wanted to definitely capture that scent. This is me like going on a trip and I'm like, okay, I need this in a candle. I need it to make it happen. So I think that's one of the most beautiful things is just having conversations with the locals and experiencing and understanding how different ways of life create a different culture.
That's great. Now, as we close, your journey is proof that success isn't just about meeting expectations, but it's about defining your own expectations. And it could be, meeting your own expectations as you go up the corporate ladder or turning your hobby like candle making into success. You've written the rules for yourself. So my question for you is, if someone listening today is feeling stuck in a career that they no longer love, what advice would you give to them about taking the first step towards something different?
Absolutely. I know what it's like to be sinking in the same chair from 9 to 5. And I definitely understand that it's hard to get out or even try new things. But I think it's so important. It's very important for you to go out and have connections. Just talk to different people. If you're not ready to start a hobby and monetize it, then go just have coffee with different people in different industries. Go to different networking events. Do it for yourself because you're taking 40 hours plus a week for somebody else. Take at least a couple hours for your own growth, for your own personal mindset. I think it's important to understand, just like traveling, how are people doing? How are they doing somewhere else? Is the grass really greener on the other side? How are you going to know if you don't have these conversations? And one of the things that I know is far-fetched, but think about it. We are limited on this planet. We're limited on time. So if you give 20 years of your career to a corporation where you're unhappy and you're just afraid to make that big step just because you're comfortable, what if you make a big step and it's the most amazing thing? Why do we have to go negatively and say, oh my God, that's so scary, I don't want to do it? What if it's amazing? What if there's so much positive by you just taking a step outside? I think that's a beautiful mindset. And I think that you want to just stay positive by having conversation, going out to have coffee with someone. I think it's really cool. And of course, social media is important too. Like on LinkedIn, you network with different, people all the time. If you want to just switch different industries or corporations, or if you feel like doing something fun, there's so many DIY activities out there. You can come make a candle with us. You can go pottery, paint. There's so many cool different things to do. So my only advice is, yes, do your 40-hour work week, but take time for yourself. Take time for you to see what activities you like, not necessarily to capitalize, but just to keep your mindset and energy happy.
That's wonderful. Now, for people that are hearing about your candles and are like, I'm interested, how would they find you? And don't worry, we'll have links in the show notes.
Absolutely. So Santana Candle Co. is online 24/7, and we do about 10 different pop-ups in markets a month. So there's always somewhere you can shop in person during the year. My schedule of pop-ups is on my website at www.santanacandleco.com. You can also find us on all the social medias. The handle is at Santana Candle Co. And of course, you can always DM me, text me, ask me any questions you may have about all of our home fragrance options. We have candles, home diffusers, car diffusers, and wax melts for everybody that likes flameless options too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Natalie. This was really fun.
I'm glad.
Anna's story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the loudest expectations come from the people we love most. And choosing joy anyway is one of the bravest things we can do. Whether it's walking away from a good job or redefining success on your own terms, Anna shows us what it means to bet on yourself when the world has already written your script. Next week, we take that same energy into a very different arena, one where the barriers are built into the equipment itself. I sit down with Amy Rusa, founder of The Safety Rack, a nonprofit tackling the real and dangerous gap in personal protective equipment for women in male-dominated fields like construction, manufacturing, and the military. She's rewriting the rules from the inside out and showing us how advocacy can start as a spark and grow into a movement. Both women, Anna today and Amy next, took action in response to external structures that weren't serving them or other women. Anna pushed back on cultural pressure and the immigrant narrative of linear, safe success. Amy is confronting industrial design and workplace safety norms that exclude women by default. Together, their stories show two powerful strategies for unsealing yourself. One by leaving a system and one by transforming it from within. So, before you go, download this episode and the next one. Downloads help us grow, gain sponsors, and keep creating meaningful content. Share this episode with someone who's ready to challenge expectations. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for being here. You're not just listening, you're helping ignite a ripple effect of bold, intentional change.